Hello, welcome to Shad Life. Well, the Torker is done. I put the crankset on here with the new bottom bracket. This is the Answer slider bottom bracket, which allows me to move the spindle left and right to get things centered, right? So I got a perfect chain line. The cranks are clearing the frame. I did get the 122 millimeter width bottom bracket. So this thing's dialed now. Pretty sweet. So yeah, I have a clip here of me installing the bottom bracket. So I'll show that, and then we'll talk a little bit about this bike after that. Okay, so this is the Answer bottom bracket. I had to go with titanium because that's all they have, so it's a pretty pretty nice bottom bracket. What's unique about it is it has these inside what would you call these, like lock rings, lock washers, whatever. They have a little Allen key on there that will lock them into place. So what this allows me to do is it allows me to adjust the bottom bracket left to right and get it just right and get the chain line set up correctly. So each side has one. And the tricky part is I was like, because these are recessed in there, I was like, well, how do I tighten this once it's in there? The trick is, see that little hole? Yep. So that's how you do it. So I'll go ahead and assemble this and show you how this all works, but it's pretty slick. I'm pretty excited about this and the ability to align this. If I show you a regular cartridge style bottom bracket, the issue here, take this end off, if I can get it off. Oh, well, anyway, can't get it off, but there is no way to move the spindle and align it correctly. You're just stuck with whatever alignment it has, which is interesting because it's definitely seems shorter on this side and longer on this side. So the advantage of this one is I can move it correctly to align everything. So sweet, we'll go ahead and do it all. So first things first is I want to put these in the frame, and you'll notice they're labeled right and left, so that's important. So this one will go on the right side, and it's actually threaded reverse on this side. So to tighten, you go the opposite direction than what you would normally do to tighten something. Right? And then on the left side, it's normal. So normally you go to the right to tighten and to the left to loosen, but on this side it's reversed. Similar to how pedals are, how they're reversed. They do this with the bottom bracket for the same reason. But before I put that in there, I'm going to throw some grease on these threads, and then we'll go ahead and install both sides. The right side. One of the more important things you got to do is make sure you don't cross thread, and I'm trying to do this while holding the other one. There you go. If it doesn't freely go, you're cross threading, and you want to make absolutely sure. And sometimes if it doesn't freely go, like if you, no matter how hard you try, you can't get these to go in, that means you need to get a tap and tap these. And I actually did have to tap the left side over here with the tap tool, because without doing that, you'll damage the threads on your bottom bracket because it's aluminum and this frame is steel. So basically I'm going to get these as hand tight as I can get them, and then I'm going to grab the BFW because that's the only tool I have that will fit. The BFW. We'll let you figure out what that means. there we go. And I do not have a torque spec for any of this stuff, so what I'm gonna do, I always make sure with these kind of adjustable wrenches, I make sure they're tight, and I sometimes hold that if I have to. We'll just make sure that's nice and snug. Same here, hold this on. One of the more important things is I want this to look nice too. I don't want to have it dinged up. So you got to be really careful with this kind of tool because it's easy to slip, and then when you do that, you'll mar the corners, and it will still work, but it'll just look like crap. So. Okay, another important thing to note, this is titanium. Titanium and aluminum do not get along. As much as they are combined, that's should just slide in there, right? So what you do is you got to put tie prep on there. So you want tie prep so the titanium and the aluminum will be fine together. Tie prep, you don't need a ton of it, considering that this so easily went in there. I can just swap that out of the way. There we go. Get the little rubber mallet. No need to hurt my hand. So there we go. Spindle is in there. Cool. Try to get it visually as centered as I can, but I can fine tune that later. So this requires a 2mm Allen key that can slide on there. Now the tricky part is going to be to get it through that hole and get this to line up. There, we got it. Okay, so now it's lined up. So now I just need to tighten this. So that's tight on that side. And then I just do the same thing on the other side. Okay, now that both of the little lock washers or whatever you want to call them are in, right? Now I'm ready to put the cranks on, but again, aluminum, titanium. So you want to tie prep this. You also want to tie prep the bolts that are going to go into the end here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Tie prepped. So then I'm going to put the crank on there. Then I'm going to put the bolt in. And now I can go ahead and tighten it. So this is my Park torque wrench, and I have it set to 40 Newton meters of torque. These cranks, because I got them off of Amazon, I have no idea what the torque spec is. So now we're getting there. Heard that most cranks are 35 to 50, so I'm going to set it at 40 and see how it feels. It's pretty tight. Wow, that's pretty tight. I don't think I'm gonna need that much torque. All right, I'm gonna leave it at that. So now we can check my chain line. Oh, that is a lot better. All right, so there we go. Once I got that other crank arm installed, I, got the chain and chain tension correct and everything. So now I have a functioning bike. So what you can see here is the chain line is much better, and the crank arms are closer to the frame. I probably could go a little bit over more, but I don't really want to. I think it's gonna be fine. It's so minuscule, I'll never notice it. Okay, so here we go. Total weight is about 28 pounds, which is not too terrible considering it's got these Moto Mags on it. So I'd assume, like, if this had a regular set of alloy wheels, it'd be around 24 pounds, because these are roughly 2 pounds heavier each than what alloy wheels would weigh. So doing the math, come out 24 pounds, which is pretty much right in the ballpark of what like a full-size Pro XL bike would be. So I do have some pretty lightweight cranks on here with the titanium bottom bracket and all of that. If you were to put like a true chromoly crank, like a profile or something, probably add a little bit more weight, but then you'd probably go with a lighter set of tires, right? So I mean, yeah, not bad weight. So I'm just gonna go over the parts really quick, because people are probably wondering, well, what are all these parts and where did they come from? So we'll start with the frame, obviously. So torkerracing.com, frame and fork. This is the LP model, the race model, with integrated headset. So even though it looks like, and that's kind of cool, they did that, it looks like pressed in cups, it's not. It's an actual integrated 1 1/8 threadless steer, right? And then of course the Torker stem. That thing is cool. It's probably, I mean, aside from the frame and fork, this is probably my favorite part on the bike. Yeah, well, the wheels, oh my gosh. I mean, there's a lot of really good parts on this bike, right? And then these are Rad Brad, that's what they are. Rad Brad V-bars in aluminum. They look really cool, but I did ride this bike just up and down the street really quick. These handlebars flex a lot. I mean, they are aluminum. Yeah, they flex. The brake lever is Technique. I got them from the same website. Yeah, pretty cool, nice machined, cool looking lever that is definitely not old school, but I really like it. And then, so that's kind of the front end. Ori grips, right? This style of grip was like all the rage back then, and these are at least a soft rubber, so they're not terrible, right? And then we come back here, Pork Chop, that's a website too. They sell a lot of reproduction type things. This is kind of like a modern shape with like the old school diamond, padding on there, diamond sewing pattern, right? This seat post, I don't know what the brand is. I got it off of Albi's website. There's a couple of companies that make fluted posts like this. They look identical, so I'm assuming it's the same manufacturer. But yeah, it is a micro adjust. It doesn't have those big heavy seat guts, right? So it's modern. It's a 27.2 seat post, which is surprising. I'm surprised they make fluted seat posts in that modern size. And then this is a Pro Neck seat clamp. Super cool. Then we start getting down here to the cranksets. MKS pedals, they still make these, or they started remaking them. And believe it or not, I mean, I thought these wouldn't grip very good, but when I'm wearing my Vans, they actually grip okay. And then these cranks are kind of an interesting piece. I was just looking all over. I was gonna try to maybe get some super maxi cranks off of eBay or something, but I was worried they wouldn't have you know, that the square taper part would be all worn out. The threads always look kind of crappy for where the pedals were. I remember pedals getting pulled out of the cranks. And I found these on Amazon, and they look a lot like the Super Maxis, but they're definitely modern. And these, I don't know the brand. I didn't seem to have any branding, but they are 70-75 series aluminum, so they're really hard aluminum, and actually riding them, they're pretty stiff, and they market them for fixies, so it makes sense. Now when you think about a fixed gear bike, the cranks do need to be stiff and they need to be strong and stuff, so they actually feel way better than I thought they were going to feel pedaling it around. And then a pro neck chain ring on there, so yeah. And then we already know about the answer bottom bracket. That was the last part I needed to get the cranks lined up correctly, get the chain line lined up correctly and all of that. And then we come to the brakes. These are just your standard modern Pro Max V brakes in gold, so nothing super fancy there. And then the chain tensioners are Technique, so they're the same brand as this brake lever. Super cool. And then of course we've got the Moto Mag 3s. These are what started this whole build. Is Mongoose is doing reproduction of the Moto Mags. They're calling these Moto Mag 3s, so you can't mistake them for Moto Mag 2s or Moto Mag 1s from the 70s. And then the tires, this old tread pattern, old style tread pattern. These are made by Kenda. I think it's Kenda. Is it Kenda, or it says on one of the sidewalls? Yeah, Kenda right there. So Kenda tires that look like the original BMX tires from back in the day. So the whole package, it's a modern size, you know, modern bike that looks like what would have been a popular, like, high-end ride in '79. Now the Moto Mags could be questionable. They did make these until about '84, I believe, if I remember right. But people were already going away from Moto Mags. Like '79, you would have still seen a lot of bikes with Moto Mags, but a lot of the more serious racers and stuff have either gone to the plastic style tough wheels or aluminum wheels for lighter weightness, because these definitely were heavier. So if a rider was going for strength, they'd run Moto Mags, but if they were going for lightweightness, they'd run Toughs or aluminum wheels. So it wouldn't be super common to see Moto Mags on like a Torker in 1979. You would have seen them more on the Torkers from like 75, 76, 78. But I really like the look with the Moto Mags. We'll see what I do. I mean, the nice thing is now that I have this together, I'll probably keep it looking like this for a while, but I might change out some parts here and there. I'm actually already thinking about getting chromoly handlebars, because these flex a lot, and if I want to actually ride this bike, and like technically I could ride it and you know, maybe not get super serious with it, but I could push it a little bit on this bike. But the bars do make me nervous. So we'll see about that. If I did go with chromoly bars, you know, I have the gold lever, I'd probably go with like yellow grips or something, just to kind of keep a little bit of gold up here. Now the one thing I still need to figure out for this bike, I do have the plate sitting up there on my bench, and I'm trying to figure out the pad set. So this bike, I did just post it up to BMX Museum, but it hasn't been approved yet. So once it gets approved, it'll be on there. Super stoked. This thing is cool. So there you go. Full rundown of all the parts. Yes, I have a running nose. I'm trying to look. Let me go blow my nose and then finish it. All right. Yay, winter in Minnesota. So there you have it. That is the Torker completed. I will do some more videos on this bike at some point, but that is the build. Next up is Ray's coming up this weekend, so I got that bike getting it ready for Ray's, and then I'll be doing the full teardown of the Canyon, redoing all the bearings, pivot bearings and all of that, coming up here soon. That'll be my main winter project. That'll take me some time. I've got the full park tool, bearing kit and everything. So there you have it. The next video you'll probably see will be some Ray's footage with my friends Jay and Jason. Appreciate your support for my channel. Please like and subscribe.